Lithium, lithium, lithium. It seems like it's all anybody's been discussing recently. I'm sure by now you've seen the ASX lithium sector being lit up. There's been a huge amount of excitement surrounding it. We know there's been tailwinds driving it, both on the demand and the supply side. COP26 has arrived, so there's a lot of discussion surrounding decarbonisation and the trends moving forward. But by now, many of these companies have had significant uplifts. And the question has been, what are some other companies out there in the broader lithium sector that may have been overlooked or maybe haven't had that exuberance behind them yet? And in today's video, we're going to unpack 5 different lithium companies on the ASX that might be interesting to watch into 2022. These companies, on the by and large, are more early stage and traditionally a little earlier stage in their development versus many of the more established blue chips or those that are already in production or progressing towards it. So today we're going to unpack these 5. I'd love to know your thoughts, so drop in a comment below what's on your watch list in the lithium sector. If you do enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out as well. We make daily videos, so if you're new here, welcome. Make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on. So you might be wondering, before we dive into 5 different companies that we're going to look into, what's actually been happening to the lithium sector? In our videos before on the channel, we've done deep dives into the sector and the drivers behind it. But there have been some individual pieces of news on a macro level that have been fascinating and of course have fed into the broader narrative. First and foremost, you might have seen the excitement surrounding the Tesla share price recently. It broke through the $1 trillion market cap level. It's above $1,000. And a lot of this was actually catalyzed by a reported deal between Tesla and Hertz for 100,000 vehicles to be delivered. Elon Musk recently came out with a tweet that stated that a deal has not been signed yet, but it was actually interesting unpacking the tweet and what it really meant for the story. Elon Musk stated that Hertz, if deliveries were to go through, would be done at market value, at market price, because Tesla did not have a demand issue. He spoke about their constraints being on the supply side. This really speaks to the insatiable desire and demand at the moment for EVs, and this is only going to be further catalyzed and accelerated by things like COP26 with the Global Climate Change Summit, really pushing the conversation of decarbonisation to the forefront around the world. Of course, we're familiar with the supply shortfall that's forecast to continue to expand. You can see this visual here on the right that Benchmark Minerals Intelligence have provided. It's a really fascinating one. It's quite compelling to see where the story may head moving forward. And of course, we know about the drivers of the localization of supply chains. At the moment, a lot of the downstream processing in particular is done in Asia, particularly in China. But there's a focus to build in resilience and localize supply chains globally. And the lithium sector is definitely one that's been feeding into that. Underpinning all of it, the lithium prices have continued to rise, and this has meant there's a lot of bullish excitement surrounding the lithium sector. Note that this video is not intended as deep dives into each of these companies. It's meant as a quick snapshot, a bit of a refresher, and an insight into potentially a couple of companies that you might not have heard of before. So hopefully there's a few interesting ones you can add to your watch list. Of course, if you are interested in deep dives, we'll continue to cover a range of different EV battery supply stocks moving forward. And we have looked into some of the companies we discussed in previous videos, which you can check out after this one. Before we do dive into the 5 companies, a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing we talk about on the channel is financial advice. The stocks we cover are not buy recommendations. Each of these companies are just general discussions, hopefully to be interesting starting spots for your own research on your watch list. It's worth noting as well that the lithium sector, as mentioned earlier, has been rising upwards significantly over the past period. It looks like there's a fair bit of exuberance and froth getting into the market, and particularly with many of the companies that are more early stage, they're likely to be more inherently volatile. So it is just worth noting that when you are looking into companies in the sector. So stock number 1 on the list, European Lithium, ASX EUR. Their market cap has soared through the $100 million mark recently. We did a video on ASX EUR, a deep dive, a few weeks ago, which you can check out on the channel if you're more interested about the broader story and the opportunity ahead. So for a bit of a quick refresher, European Lithium's flagship project is the Wolfsberg Lithium project in Austria. Interestingly, there is the potential of a resource upgrade, which may be coming in the near future. There was discussions that one may come through. And so investors are anxiously watching this because, of course, a resource upgrade has the ability to feed into the calculations and the valuations moving forward. Their DFS is anticipated to be on track and due in Q1 2022. But what's really attracting attention around the ASX EUR share price is, after an extended suspension, they've recently come out of this suspension and announced that Petro Consulting acquisition that is a conditional acquisition, but one that may go ahead. And there's a lot of excitement about what this could mean for the story. So Petro Consulting are a Ukrainian company. They're currently applying for special permits to extract and process lithium for 2 different Ukrainian lithium projects. In particular, the Dobra project is a massive project, up to 100 million tons. Of course, they're still very early stage. As mentioned, the acquisition is conditional upon Petro Consulting being issued these permits. And this, of course, has to go through EUR shareholder approval and a range of other conditions, as we understand, happens. However, if this does go ahead, and of course, with the conditional agreement, a lot of the downside risk is hedged for European Lithium. EUR intends to undertake a maiden JORC compliant mineral resource estimate based on verification works. Of course, it'll be very fascinating to see the opportunity that these 2 Ukrainian projects can bring to the total European portfolio if this does all go ahead, and has seen a lot of investor excitement in the ASX EUR story. On to stock number 2, Lepidico. ASX LPD is trading in and around a $250 million market cap. Interestingly, really at the core of their offering is their 100% owned proprietary technology. The first one is LMAX, but they've got a range of other process technologies as well. And this feeds into their vertically integrated supply chain, which they're building from mine all the way through to production, really as a focused chemicals company. But of course, at their core is their ability through the process to produce lithium hydroxide. It's a fascinating one. They do own a mine as well, but this is for a mica ore. It's not for a spodumene hard rock. And so their process and their vertically integrated supply chain commences with the lithium mica ore, which is mined and then concentrated in Namibia in Africa. This is then shipped for processing as a concentrate to UAE, where of course their proprietary process technologies will be leveraged and their products will then be converted to lithium hydroxide, which can be sold onto market, as well as a range of other products as well as that broader chemicals company which they're presenting. It's a really fascinating offering. Of course, it's quite different to some of the other more focused lithium companies which we'll cover in this video, but Lepidico has been attracting a lot of investor interest recently, so it'll be fascinating to see where the story heads. Stock number 3, Argosy Minerals. Argosy is one of the most mature companies that we'll look into in this video. ASX AGY has a market cap of around that $400 million market cap. They've got their flagship Rincon lithium project. It's located within, of course, the renowned Lithium Triangle, which is a huge lithium hotspot. They've got a lithium brine project there. But interesting on top of that as well, they've also got the Tonopah Lithium project in Nevada, USA. What's noteworthy about this is located right near Albemarle, one of the global lithium producers companies. It's located near their facility as well. So of course, it shows that there's potentially some strategic importance with the Tonopah Lithium project, but this is in a far more early stage in their flagship Rincon Lithium project. At the moment, they own over 70% of the flagship Rincon project. They're in a joint venture. They've produced an industrial scale pilot plant. They're now in the second stage where they're in the development stage of their commercial development. This has commenced and they're now moving towards their flagship 2,000 tonne per annum modular plant. And from there, if this is successful, which hopefully will come online in mid-2022, they recently provided an update that's around 45% complete so far, then they'll look to move forward towards the opportunity of a 10,000 tonne per annum production in years to come. They do have the ability to earn into their JV up to 90% upon successful milestones. So of course, it will be fascinating to see where ASX AGY heads. Stock number 4, Anson Resources. ASX ASN are located in Utah with their flagship Paradox Brine project. As you can see on the right, they've got a couple of different projects and tenements around the world, but their flagship Paradox Brine project is a clean, green energy project, really focusing on the ESG credentials, which we know are going to be important moving forward as manufacturers and companies around the world look to not only have a good quality product to feed into their products that they're producing, but they also want to bring down the embodied energy of the product and have an ESG product which they can present forward. Of course, the opportunity for an ESG focused product is only going to continue to grow. Premiums may be attached to this moving forward, and Anson Resources is leveraging a direct lithium extraction process to help to get to there. They're extracting lithium from the salt brine resource before extracting additional value from byproducts, which of course they will be able to sell on as well. They have a 2-stage process with the first one, a 2,700 tonne per annum lithium carbonate, and then the ability to potentially expand lithium carbonate equivalent plant moving forward into the second half of this decade. And then stock number 5, the 5th stock on the list, Arizona Lithium. ASX AZL has had a phenomenal past period. We recently covered Arizona Lithium in one of our Stocks to Watch November videos, which you can check out after this one if you haven't seen that one yet. Arizona Lithium was formerly Hawkstone Mining. You might be familiar with ASX HWK, the old ticker, but they recently spun out their gold and copper assets into Diablo Resources, DBO, and now they're focusing on their flagship Big Sandy Lithium project. Interestingly, this project is an extraction project via sedimentary clays. It's located right near some of Tesla's key locations, so they're hoping once it comes online, if it does, that they'll be able to feed into Tesla's different supply chains, as well as a range of other, of course, vehicle manufacturers located in the USA. And they did recently raise $13 million. They raised this at under 10 cents, but their share price in the ASX AZL story has risen upwards rapidly since this raise. And of course, there's a lot of investor interest into where ASX AZ will head. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. As mentioned, we make daily videos on the channel, so make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on so you won't miss any of our episodes as they do come out. It's a fascinating period. The lithium sector's been running hot. The broader EV battery supply chain has been getting a lot of excitement from investors around the world. It'll be interesting to see what happens out of COP26 and any further regulation or legislation that will come through out the world. But of course, many of these companies, if they are able to come online over this next decade, we're feeding into some pretty interesting supply chains that have got some significant demand that's only likely to continue to grow moving forward. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know your thoughts on it all. So drop in a comment below. Have a fantastic weekend. For now, stay well and happy investing.